So I think what we're going to do is follow up on a little bit that we learned about parabolas yesterday, except we're going to use a graphing calculator to facilitate that today. And what we're learning in terms of graphing calculator skills are essential stuff for next year, so very, very important. Okay, so we're going to use our calculator to help us find the vertex. What's the AOS? Can you guys remind me?
The axis of symmetry.
The axis of symmetry, yep, and the domain range. And zeros, what were zeros? Did we talk about zeros yesterday? Those were... Yeah, those were the x-intercepts where it crosses this axis. Great. Okay, so we're going to use our calculator to have us look at the parabolas this time, okay, instead of sketching them or anything like that. So let's put f of x into our calculator. So grab your calculator, turn it on. Oh, I've got weird stuff from another class in, so I'm going to quit. And can you guys remind me, where do we go to actually enter stuff in our calculator if we want to enter a graph? Y equals on the top left. Very good. So I have some graphs in there, you probably do too. Clear them out. So it's a nice blank template. Okay? So once you've got those cleared, you want to enter your parabola. Make sure, because sometimes we've been doing some scatter plots just a little bit this year, we'll probably do some more before this unit's over. Make sure that it doesn't say plot 1, 2, or 3 is on. If that's bold, go up there and click it and make it not bold. Okay, it shouldn't look like this. If your plot's on, you're going to have issues. It's going to be trying to draw a scatter plot at the same time. Okay, so I'm going to put my parabola in. 5x squared plus 10x. You get that squared multiple ways. Use your caret or use the squared button. We've done that already. Okay, and then I'm going to graph it. Can you guys remind me, when we want to graph something in our calculator, which window option do we press? We go to zoom. Oh, I accidentally hit graph. So I hit graph and it did whatever was there. For starting out, do we go zoom what?
Zoom standard.
Zoom standard, very good. Okay, and that should give you a decent picture of your parabola. I think I can see everything I need right there. Can you guys see that? I mean, we can see the vertex, we can see where it crosses the x-axis. I think we've got everything we need. I don't need to touch my window on this one. So now let's use our calculator to actually find those things. So, if you use the trace button on the top row, if you hit trace, it'll let you scroll around and kind of see what stuff is approximately. You can see that. But approximately is not nearly good enough. You need to actually be able to calculate things. Your calculator can do that for you. So that's what I'm looking for you guys to do. So first we want to calculate the vertex. So how do you do that? Well, you press second calculate. Calculate is on the trace button. You guys see it? It says calc. Hit second trace. And it brings you to this menu, which I think we've been here before too.
What did you put in your trace?
Just go second calculate will be good. You didn't even have to do that. So you should be on the second calculate menu right now. So I see most of us are there. And now you can calculate a variety of things. Which one of those things do you guys think is our vertex? Because it doesn't say vertex. Let's go back and look at the picture. I'm going to go back to my graph. Just hit graph. So what do you guys think? Which one of those things was the vertex? Let's go back to the menu. Think about the graph. Keep it in your head. Which one of those things is vertex? Minimum. Because if you think about it, isn't this the minimum point on the curve? Yeah. So some parabolas have a minimum. Some of them have a maximum. It depends which way they're facing. Bless you. So we're going to go second calculate minimum. And then it says, you guys see on the bottom left, it says left bound. So you need to go down by where the minimum is, scroll over with your scroll keys, and go on the left of it, something like that. Doesn't matter exactly where. And press enter. And then it'll say right bound. What do you think that means? Scroll on the right side of it, of what you're trying to calculate, yeah? And press enter. And then it says guess. What do you think that means? Go as close as you can and hit enter. and it'll tell you that's the actual vertex. Now, if it says negative 1.000 all the way out there to 2, that's rounding error. That's the calculator not being quite smart enough to realize that the vertex this time is actually what? Negative 1. Is it negative 5? Clearly it's negative 5, not positive 5, right? So that's the vertex right there. Okay, so I think that's all we really need to figure out our axis of symmetry, because doesn't the axis of symmetry go right through the vertex? So what's your axis of symmetry going to be? Negative 1. But if you write negative 1 on my test, I'm going to mark it wrong, because negative 1 is not a line. You need to say a vertical line at negative 1. In other words, the line x equals negative 1. If you say negative 1, I'm like, where? Like the x-coordinate, the y-coordinate? That is the equation of a vertical line. You got to know that for next year, and for lots of other reasons. If it was a horizontal line, like the horizontal parabola, would be y equals, right? Okay, domain and range. I think we've got enough information to read that too. We got the picture. You guys help me with the domain? Even though it's steep, I mean, it keeps going both ways. So everything from negative infinity to infinity. And I think we've also got enough info for the range. Bottom to top. Where's the bottom? Negative 5, right? It's at the vertex. It's this spot that's the bottom. Negative 5 all the way up. Bracket. Because you can actually be negative 5, right? Now the zeros. I think we can probably guess what they are, but let's actually calculate them to make sure. And you'll notice on a couple of your problems, I made sure that they were very ugly decimals. So if you just guess, it's not going to be the right answer. Okay? So this one, I think they come out pretty nicely. Let's check. So go to second, calculate again. And which option do you think I need to use for that?
0.
Duh, number 2, zeros. And you do it the same way. You got to pick one. I'm going to go pick this one. You guys see this one right here about negative 2? So I'm going to go on the left of it. Somewhere up there's on the left, right? Hit enter. And then I'm going to scroll over on the right-hand side of it, maybe like right there. And then I'm going to guess at it. It is indeed negative 2. All right, so why don't you guys go and find that other 0? So do the same thing again. Hit second, calculate, and go find that other 0. I think you should find it's actually equal to 0.
Mr. McGee, what do we do if it says no sign change?
It means you didn't actually go on the left and right-hand side. I'll show you. All right, so let's try to do the exact same thing with this second parabola. So now we've got the parabola g of x. This parabola, from yesterday, from the little bit of knowledge you guys gained working on that assignment yesterday, is this parabola going to be facing up or down? Down because of what?
Negative x squared.
The negative 1 on the x squared, right? Good. It's just that negative that's going to face it down. So let's put it in our calculator. So I'm going to go to y equals, clear out my old parabola, and put in my new one. So here's a little trick. You're going to find you have to do this. If you ever start something in your calculator, wherever you're entering it, in a graph or whatever, if you're starting with a negative, you must use the small negative at the very bottom. That is the negative that goes in front of stuff.
Would it say error?
Yeah, otherwise it's going to tell you where to go if you make an error. But so negative x squared, and then if you have negatives that need to be between things, you've got to use the big subtraction sign, the negative between things. Now this is kind of annoying, but you've just got to get used to it. It's pretty easy. Okay, so there's my parabola. Note the negative in front is a little small one, and the other one's a big one. So that's something you guys should remember. Okay, so we said this is going to probably be facing down. All right, so yes, it does look like we have a parabola facing down, right? What's the problem? You can't see. Can you see the zeros?
No. Wait.
Yeah, I think you can see them. There's one close to 2 over there. There's one like negative 8 or something like that.
Yeah.
But we can't see the vertex. So you've got different options. I'm going to go to Window and change just one thing. You can, of course, press zoom out and zoom in and stuff, but that's the crude way to do it and won't help you necessarily in advanced courses. Okay? So you guys tell me, I need to change just one of these to make it go up higher. Which one will make it go up higher? Those tell you what the edges of your screen are. So which one's going to make it go up higher? The max of y is going to make it go up higher. Let's try 20, see if that's high enough. Nope, it still wasn't high enough. So I'm going to go back to my window, and I'm going to change it to 30. I highly suggest you play with this and mess around with it. If you mess up and it does something weird that you didn't expect, what could you do to start over? How do you go back to the 10 by 10 thing? You hit zoom standard, and it'll start you over, and you can play with it again. Okay? So if I hit zoom standard right now, notice it's going to take me back to where I started. So playing with this is really important, actually. Might not seem like it, but it is. So we said we were going to try to go up to 30 and see if that was high enough. Looks like it is. Now we can see the zeros, we can see the vertex. That's a complete picture of the parabola. So let's calculate them. So you guys remind me, how do I calculate the vertex? Second, trace. And which thing is the vertex this time? The maximum. Very nice, because it's the highest part up there. So now we got to scroll up to the top and go on the left, somewhere like that, and go on the right. Maybe like right there is good enough. My equation's kind of in the way. And there you go, it told me vertex. So I'm going to write that down. Okay, my axis of symmetry is of course right there. Okay, so we have our axis of symmetry. It's that vertical line. It's going to be x equals -3, always along that line. That's the line that's symmetric about. What's the domain, guys? Everything, right? Remember, when you think about domain, you should be thinking about the picture and thinking about all the points. Well, it keeps going this way forever, and it keeps going the other way forever. And the range, I think this time it starts at -infinity from the very bottom when we go bottom to top. It's going to go all the way up and climb up to the top of that parabola. Where's the top of it at? 27. There we go. And the zeros. Why don't you guys go calculate the zeros now? So go grab those zeros, calculate them. I think we saw that a second ago. So I'm going to calculate the zeros. So I'm going to go down and do the left one first. It's down here, so I'm going to go on the left of it. Notice you can go off the screen as long as you're on the left. Down there's good. I'm going to go on the right of it. And I'm going to guess at it. So my calculator says the zero is -8.196152. So I want you guys to round that to the thousands place, okay? So round it to the thousands place. You're going to have -8.196. We'll calculate the other zero, and we'll be done. And then we have pretty much all the nice information about this parabola. The thing we're going to work on in the next couple sections is being able to do this without a calculator. So I'm going over here. That's on the left of this zero. I'm going to go on the right and get that zero. So that zero is 2.196. So that's what you should get. Make sure you get the same thing. Try that out, okay?